The polished oak door, brand new and smelling of expensive varnish, clicked shut with a terrible finality. Maribel stood on the cold, damp porch, the sound echoing in her chest. A bitter wind whipped the November rain against her thin coat. "Oswin, please," she whispered, her hand hovering near the gleaming new brass knocker. "It's starting to sleet. You can't just..." The curtains in the living room window twitched. She saw her daughter-in-law, Calla, peek out before quickly hiding again. Calla was wearing a new cashmere sweater, the color of cream. Maribel knocked, louder this time. "Oswin. I know you're in there. We can talk about this." The door remained closed. The deadbolt slid into place on the other side. That sound was louder than the wind. It was the sound of her life ending. This was the house she had lived in for 30 years. The house where she'd measured Oswin's height against the kitchen doorframe. Now, it was freshly painted a cold, stylish gray, and it was no longer hers. "I won't let you do this," she yelled, her voice cracking with a mixture of rage and fear. "That was my ticket. My money." A small, worn suitcase sat by her feet on the wet concrete. Inside were the few things Calla had packed for her, old sweaters and 2 framed photos. Everything else, her whole life, was locked inside. She slumped against a porch column, the cold soaking through her clothes. She had nowhere to go. No one to call. Her own son had put her on the street, all because of that $22 million piece of paper. A shiver ran through her, so deep it rattled her bones. She was 62 years old, betrayed, and freezing. She had never felt so alone. As she wiped the rain from her eyes, a long, black sedan pulled up to the curb. It was sleek and expensive, the kind of car she'd only seen in movies. A man in a dark, perfectly tailored suit stepped out from the driver's side, holding a large black umbrella. He walked crisply up the path, his polished shoes stopping right in front of her. "Maribel Croft?" he asked, his voice calm and serious. She nodded, confused. "Yes. My name is Lowell. I'm an attorney," he said, handing her a business card. "I've been trying to find you for 3 days. I was your late husband's lawyer. We need to talk about his will, and that lottery ticket." Just 3 weeks ago, Maribel, Oswin, and Calla had been crowded on a worn sofa in their tiny apartment, watching the local news. The air was thick with the stress of unpaid bills. And the winning numbers are 4, 18, 22, 31, 45, and the Powerball. 9. Maribel's breath hitched. She'd been using the same numbers, her birthday, Oswin's, her late husband's, for years. She pulled the small, folded ticket from her purse. Her hands shook. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." Oswin grabbed the ticket. His eyes went wide. "Mom. Mom, you won. We won." He and Calla started screaming, jumping up and down. For one brief, perfect moment, they were a family united in joy. Then, Calla's eyes changed. The joy was replaced by a cold, sharp calculation. She put her arm around Oswin. "We need to be smart, baby," she said, her voice low. "This is our future. We have to protect it." Maribel felt a small chill. Now, standing on the cold porch, that memory felt like a betrayal. The lawyer, Lowell, was still watching her, his expression kind. "Mrs. Croft, are you all right?" Lowell asked. I don't understand," she stammered. "My husband's will? He passed away 5 years ago. Everything went to me and Oswin. There was almost nothing left." "Not quite everything," Lowell said gently. "Your husband was a very careful man. He set up a small, separate bank account. He called it the Rainy Day Fund. His instructions were clear: it was for you alone, to be left untouched unless you truly needed it." Maribel's mind raced. The rainy day fund. I'd forgotten. I've been managing it, Lowell continued. It had a few $1,000s. I saw one withdrawal just last month. $5 from a corner market. Maribel looked up, her eyes wide with a new, sudden hope. That was me. I bought the lottery ticket with that $5. That's what I was afraid of, Lowell said, his face grim. If that ticket was purchased with funds that are legally and solely yours, then the winnings belong to you, Maribel. Not to your son. From inside the locked house, Oswin was watching. He couldn't hear the conversation, but he saw the expensive suit and the sleek car. He saw his mother talking to a lawyer. Panic seized him. He fumbled for his phone, his hands shaking. Calla, there's a lawyer out there. He's talking to Mom. Calla stormed into the hallway, her face a mask of fury. She looked through the peephole, her eyes narrowing. That old woman isn't getting a dime. The deadbolt snapped back. The door flew open, revealing Oswin, pale and sweating. Mom, what's going on? He demanded, trying to sound angry but just sounding scared. Who is this? Calla pushed past him, planting herself between Maribel and the lawyer. She crossed her arms, her new cashmere sweater bunching at the elbows. This is a private family matter, Calla said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. You need to leave. My mother-in-law is confused. She's been under a lot of stress. I am not confused, Maribel said, her voice shaking but finding new strength. Mr. Lowell says that money is mine. Oswin looked like he was going to be sick. Mom, we can share. We always said we'd share, right? We're family. It's a little late for that, Oswin, Maribel said, gesturing to her suitcase on the wet ground. Calla laughed, a short, ugly sound. She can't prove a thing. It doesn't matter what fund she used. It was a gift. A gift is given, Mrs. Croft, Lowell said calmly. It is not taken by force. Oh, but she did give it, Calla said, her smile turning into a vicious smirk. She even signed the paper to prove it. Didn't you, Maribel? The family gift agreement? Maribel's blood ran cold. She remembered. Last week, Calla had pushed a stack of papers at her. Just sign these, Maribel. It's for the new house insurance. She had signed them. She had signed everything. Maribel's knees buckled. She had signed it. Calla's trap had been set weeks ago. Lowell quickly guided Maribel to his car, shielding her from the rain with his umbrella. Get in, he said, his voice firm. This isn't over. He drove her to a clean, safe motel. It was simple, with a brown bedspread and a humming air conditioner, but it was warm. Maribel sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. I signed it, Lowell. I signed it without reading. She told me it was for the house. I trusted her. Lowell paced the small room, loosening his tie. It's called a gift affidavit. It complicates things, Maribel. It makes it look like you willingly signed the winnings over to them. So that's it? They win? She whispered, tears welling up. No, Lowell said. They made a mistake. They're arrogant. They got the affidavit, but I have the will. And I have the bank transaction. A judge will have to decide which one matters more. He was cut off by his phone buzzing. He looked at the screen, his expression darkening. What is it? Maribel asked. Lowell was reading an article on his phone. They're moving fast, he said, his voice tight with anger. They've already hired a public relations firm. He turned the phone screen toward her. A local news website blared a headline. Local man's $22 million lottery dream ruined by greedy mother's lawsuit. The article was filled with quotes from an anonymous source close to the family. It painted Oswin as a grateful son who wanted to give his mother the world, but she had demanded the entire prize, threatening to destroy him if she didn't get it. Maribel felt the air leave her lungs. They're painting me as the monster. This is how they're fighting, Lowell said, snapping his phone shut. They're not just trying to win in court. They're trying to win in public. We have to fight back, and we have to do it now. We can't fight this in the media, Lowell said, pacing the motel room. They have $22 million to spend on PR firms. We have the truth. We fight with facts. He stopped and looked at her. We have the bank account. We need to prove the purchase. Where did you buy the ticket? At Jareth's, she said immediately. The corner market on Elm. I've been going there for 20 years. Jareth and I are old friends. Security footage, Lowell said, grabbing his coat. If we can get the footage of you buying that ticket, we can tie the bank withdrawal directly to the ticket number. Let's go. They raced to the small, cluttered market. But as they pulled up to the curb, Maribel's heart sank. Oswin's brand-new, metallic blue sports car, a car she had only seen in magazines, was parked out front. Through the window, they could see Calla and Oswin at the counter. Calla was laughing, handing Jareth several $100 bills. Oswin was patting him on the back. They're paying him off, Maribel whispered, her voice hollow. Lowell and Maribel waited in the car, hidden. After a few minutes, Calla and Oswin walked out, looking smug and confident. They sped off, the car's engine roaring. Maribel and Lowell entered the store. Jareth was behind the counter, nervously wiping it down. He wouldn't meet Maribel's eyes. Jareth, please, Maribel begged, her voice breaking. You know me. I've known you since Oswin was a boy. You saw me buy that ticket. I don't want any trouble, Maribel, Jareth stammered, his eyes darting to the door. They made a very generous donation. For my daughter's college fund. The security footage, Jareth, Lowell cut in, his voice sharp. It's gone, Jareth said quickly, still not looking at them. System overwrites every 48 hours. A real shame. It's just gone. Maribel stumbled back, feeling faint. Calla had thought of everything. She had bought his silence. I'm sorry, Maribel, Jareth whispered. Defeated, Lowell put a hand on Maribel's shoulder and guided her out. As they reached the door, Jareth called out, Wait! He hurried over and pressed something small and crumpled into Maribel's hand. I couldn't testify, he whispered, his eyes full of fear. But I found this in the trash behind the counter after they left. They took the reprint, but they missed this. Maribel opened her hand. It was the original lottery ticket. They sat in Lowell's car, the small, crumpled ticket on the dashboard. I don't understand, Lowell said, staring at it. Why would they throw away the original ticket? They didn't, Maribel said, her voice quiet. Oswin had the reprint. The printout from the machine that shows the numbers won. That's what they've been showing everyone. That's what they used to claim the prize. She picked up the crumpled ticket. This is the one I bought. The one I filled out. She turned it over. Her breath caught in her throat. There, in the small box under the words "Sign ticket here," was her own signature in blue ink, Maribel Croft. In their arrogant rush, Calla and Oswin had grabbed the winning numbers but never thought to check the original ticket. They didn't just steal the winnings, they had stolen the evidence. Lowell let out a low whistle. Maribel, this changes everything. The gift affidavit, Lowell explained, his voice electric with new energy, states that you gifted the winnings. But this signature proves you were the owner before the winnings existed. And a gift given under false pretenses, thinking you were signing insurance papers, is fraud. What do we do? Maribel asked. Now, Lowell said, starting the car, we go on the offensive. He spent the next hour on the phone with a judge. He filed an emergency injunction, presenting the evidence of the will, the bank transfer, and the signed original ticket. The order was granted immediately. Scene change. Calla and Oswin were at a luxury car dealership, about to buy a second car, a black SUV for Calla. Just the best, Calla told the salesman, tapping her platinum credit card on the desk. The salesman ran the card. He frowned. He ran it again. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Croft," he said, his smile strained. "This card has been declined." "What?" Calla snapped. "That's impossible." "Run it again." "It's not the card, ma'am," the salesman said, handing it back. "A notice just popped up. All of your assets have been frozen by a court order." Oswin's face went white. Calla snatched the card and her phone. "Oswin," she hissed, "get in the car. We have a problem." The panic was immediate. They raced back to their new, stolen house. Oswin was hyperventilating. "She signed it, Calla. I told you we should have checked. She signed the ticket. They know." "Shut up, Oswin." Calla screamed, throwing her purse against the wall. "She signed the affidavit. That's what matters. She gave it to us. But we lied to her. It doesn't matter." Their new, expensive lawyer called. His voice was no longer smooth and confident. "The situation is bad," he said. "A signed original ticket is powerful. A judge will almost certainly see the gift affidavit as fraudulent. The injunction is ironclad. You're cut off." Calla hung up, her mind racing. She was trapped. The house was in foreclosure. The cars would be repossessed. The media, which she had so happily used, was already turning, catching the scent of a new, better story. She had one last card to play. One last, dirty secret. She picked up the phone and dialed the number for Maribel's motel. Maribel answered, her voice wary. "Hello? You think you're so smart, don't you?" Calla's voice was a low hiss, stripped of all its charm. "You think you've won." "I just want what is mine, Calla," Maribel said. "You'll get nothing," Calla snarled. "I'll give you one chance. $1 million. You drop this lawsuit, you disappear, and I'll give you $1 million. That's my only offer." "No," Maribel said. "It's not about the money. It's about what you did." "Wrong answer," Calla laughed, a terrifying sound. "If you don't take the deal, I will tell the world a secret. A secret about your perfect, sainted, dead husband. Something that will drag his name, and yours, through the mud forever." Maribel felt sick. What secret?" "He had another family, Maribel," Calla whispered. "A whole other life in the next state. A wife. A son. I found the letters. You ruin me, and I ruin his memory. Your choice." The words hit Maribel like a physical blow. Another family. She sank onto the motel bed, the phone heavy in her hand. She thought of her husband, the man she had loved, the man who had secretly protected her with a rainy day fund. Was that fund a final gift, or was it guilt? "Maribel, don't listen to her," Lowell said, seeing the color drain from her face. "It's blackmail. It's desperation." "Is it true?" Maribel whispered into the phone. "I have the letters, the photos. Everything," Calla sneered. "So what's it going to be? Your husband's pristine memory, or the money?" Maribel was silent for a long moment. She looked at her worn hands, her old coat hanging by the door. She thought of the cold porch, of Oswin's fearful eyes, of Calla's victorious smirk. She had lost her house. She had lost her son. And now, she was being told she had lost the truth of her marriage. She made a choice. "Print it," Maribel said, her voice shaking but hardening into steel. Calla was stunned into silence. "What?" I said, "Print it." "Tell the world," Maribel said. "My husband is gone. The past is the past. It's filled with secrets and lies, and I am done with all of them. But my future is mine. I'll see you in court, Calla." She hung up the phone. The next day, the story broke. Calla, in a final act of spite, had leaked the letters. The headlines were brutal. But something Calla hadn't expected happened. The public, who had been poised to hate the greedy mother, suddenly saw the full picture. They saw a woman who had been cheated by her husband, betrayed by her son, and kicked out of her home. She wasn't greedy, she was a survivor. The story had turned. Calla's last weapon had backfired, painting her as even more cruel. The courtroom was packed. The hearing was fast. Calla and Oswin sat at one table, looking pale and small. Maribel and Lowell sat at the other. Calla's lawyer tried to argue that the affidavit was binding. Lowell didn't even call a witness. He simply presented the timeline. On October 10th, he addressed the judge. Maribel Croft used $5 from a private trust, willed solely to her, to purchase this ticket. He placed the signed ticket in an evidence bag. On October 28th, the numbers were drawn. On October 30th, her son and daughter-in-law had her sign this gift affidavit, which she was told was for house insurance. And on November 3rd, they put her on the street. He paused. The facts are clear. This was not a gift. This was a conspiracy. It was theft. The judge didn't need to deliberate. "The injunction is made permanent," the judge declared, her voice booming. "The so-called gift affidavit is ruled null and void, as it was obtained through clear and malicious fraud. The full $22 million in winnings, minus taxes, are the sole property of Mrs. Maribel Croft." Calla let out a small, broken sound. Oswin just stared, hollow. It was over. Maribel walked out of the courthouse into the bright sun. The reporters were there, but this time, their questions were kind. "Maribel, how do you feel?" She paused, looking at the cameras. "I feel free," she said. "And I'm just ready to go home." 6 months later, Maribel sat on the porch of a small, bright yellow house. It wasn't a mansion. It was a home. She had a new porch swing, and she sat on it, sipping tea. The money was safe. She had set up a trust for her husband's other son, the boy from the letters. She felt it was the right thing to do. She had donated to the women's shelter that had offered her a bed when she first left the motel. And she had sent Jareth an anonymous gift, enough to pay for his daughter's college. Lowell sat with her, holding his own cup. "You're a good woman, Maribel," he said. "I'm a quiet woman," she replied. "But I'm not a weak one. I think people know that now." As if on cue, a figure appeared on the sidewalk. He was thin, wearing a stained jacket. It was Oswin. He stood at her new garden gate, looking lost. "Mom," he called out, his voice hoarse. Maribel's heart ached, but it didn't break. She walked down the path. "She left me," Oswin whispered. "Calla. She took what money I had and she's gone. I have nothing. I'm so sorry, Mom. I was stupid. I was weak. Please. Can I come home?" He looked just as he had as a boy, asking for forgiveness. Maribel looked at her son. The son she had loved more than anything. She saw the weakness that Calla had used. She saw the boy who had chosen money over his own mother. "No, Oswin," she said, her voice soft, but final. His face crumpled. Mom, please. She reached into her pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is $5,000, she said. It's enough for a bus ticket and a fresh start. A real one. But you can't have it here. She handed it to him. He took it, his hand shaking. I do love you, Oswin, she said. But I love myself, too. And I can't let you back in. She turned, walked back up the path, and sat on her swing. Oswin stood there for a long time. Finally, he turned and walked away. Maribel closed her eyes, listening to the gentle creak of the swing. The wind was warm, and for the first time in her entire life, she was completely at peace. Her life was finally her own. If you find this story more interesting, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much.